All right, good evening, everyone, council members, department heads. Welcome to our regular Lackawanna City Council meeting for Monday, April 19th, 2021. We'll begin our caucus. However, before we begin that, I would ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item is on the agenda regarding the hearings from citizens, approval of minutes and departmental reports are administrative. To our city clerk, Mr. DiPasquale, we have any hearings from citizens?
We did have one. I put it under the communications from citizens section since he sent it in a timely fashion. So we can get to that.
We'll get to that. All right. We have a very exciting proposal by our Director of Recreation, Ryan Laxo, from the Ralph Wilson Foundation. From the Ralph Wilson Foundation, we have our guest is Michael Swatowski. Director Laxo, do you want to give us an introductory, and you want to discuss this now, or do you want to discuss this during the main part of the meeting?
Whenever you would prefer.
Well, in case anyone has any questions, why don't we initiate the conversation now?
Okay. About 6 or 8 months ago, I was contacted by a parent who moved here from the city of Buffalo, inquiring about youth programs in the city. And she specifically asked me if we were affiliated with the Buffalo City Swim Racers. I had never heard of the program, and she encouraged me to look into it. She said that her children were involved in the program, and they absolutely loved it. It gave them the opportunity to learn how to swim that, frankly, they don't know if they would have been able to find that somewhere else. So I ended up reaching out to Coach Mike through his website. We had a discussion, and I asked if he was interested in expanding the program outside of the city of Buffalo, and he had told me that they were considering doing just that. Further discussions we had, actually, Coach Mike is not from the Ralph Wilson Foundation. He suggested that I reach out to the Ralph Wilson Foundation for potential funding to make sure the program had the necessary funding to at least start a seed program here. So the Ralph Wilson Foundation has a grant process. We've been going through that for the last few months, and we've just been approved for the grant. Coach Mike has drawn up a budget for a 1-year program that we think, if it's as successful as we think it could be, could really grow into something great for our community. So I mean, with that, I mean, I think Coach Mike could really give you an overview of what the program entails. I don't know if you want to pick this up now, Coach Mike. You're on. There you go. You're on mute.
Sure. Good evening. So Mike Swatowski, I'm the executive director for what was the Buffalo City Swim Racers. Right now, we are in the transition process of renaming the organization. And as you can see behind me, we're going to be known as the City Swim Project. And the Buffalo Tide program that you also see mentioned there is going to be the name for our competitive program. I started this in November of 2012 with myself as the only coach, 15 kids from a local charter school, and roughly about a $5,000 budget. And, you know, if this were an actual franchise for profit, it'd be interesting to see how many investors I would have, because in 2019, I had 362 kids, 16 instructors, and looking for 3 full-time people. So we've had some pretty good growth over time with it. Our main mission is that we want to bring swimming to populations that might not normally have access or have a generational or societal fear of the water, and try and help overcome that, you know, those issues. So we try and remove barriers, basically, is what we're trying to do. We promote aquatic safety as well as competitive swimming, with the hope that the kids will last long enough through our program, not just to learn how to swim, but stay through the competitive program, get certified as lifeguards, enter the workforce, and maybe become our next generation of learn to swim instructors. So it's an interesting cycle that way. One of the other things that we're sure.
Interrupt you. Are you talking about a local swimming, like at the senior high, or where would the pool be located, and what are your transportation abilities?
So I believe Brian is working on the high school at the moment. Transportation, we typically leave it up to the families. Depending on who we are partnering with, sometimes they've been able to provide transportation. So for instance, the charter school that we partnered with originally, they actually arranged for there to be a bus that would transport their kids straight from the charter school straight to swim practice.
If I could just step in for a moment, that is correct. Coach Mike and I have a Zoom call set up with the superintendent of schools, Keith Lewis. We have discussed this with him in the past, and we would be using the pool at the high school. And from Coach Mike's conversation with me at the beginning of this, if we were to expand to a larger program, he thinks that maybe we could have the capability to utilize pools outside the city for our program if it got to that point. As for transportation potential, Councilman Ingram and I have had discussions about the potential for arranging for a shuttle service from the Mount Olive Church as far as potentially being able to pick up neighborhood kids from there. That's the farthest reaching area of the city, being able to bring kids from that neighborhood to the high school. So we don't have all the details of that nailed down. The grant was just awarded, but we are already trying to hit the ground running and making sure that we're giving kids every opportunity to participate in the program.
Great, Director. How much was the grant?
It was just north of $10,000. It pretty much went directly by the budget line that Coach Mike had submitted when he came up with his when he formulated the seed program that we have. I think it was 1 day a week, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Mike, a 1 day a week program just to try and establish it and see how much response we get from the community. And that was the amount of the grant that we were awarded. It was exactly, dollar for dollar what he budgeted.
Right. And insurance issues.
We are fully insured. We carry two different insurances. When we sign a child up, they register with us with USA Swimming. And USA Swimming does carry insurance for each one of its members. And each child, once they're registered that way, would be considered a registered member with USA. We also carry separate Learn to Swim insurance on top of that.
Excellent. Councilman Szymanski, do you have a question?
I do, yeah. Hey, Coach, what's the popularity of this project in Buffalo? I haven't heard of it, but if I have parents moving in from Buffalo and demanding it, I'm assuming it's very popular. So what can we anticipate here in Lackawanna?
Well, to be honest with you, I never expected it to grow as big as it did in Buffalo. So
good.
I don't know where the end game is for it, to be honest with you. Through Wilson Foundation, we were given a grant to work on a strategic plan because of how impressive the growth had been. And right now we have our strategic plan set as 1,000 Learn to Swim by 2024 to go along with 200 competitive kids and 200 adult Learn to Swim.
What is the regular season for swimming in school? It's been a while since I was in high school.
So in school, the girls typically swim during the fall season, boys during the winter season. Those last roughly 12 weeks each. Mm-hmm. Modified usually starts in April and will go through May. Mm-hmm. But since we're not necessarily a club associated with the school district, we operate off of the USA Swim season. And, or I should say our competitive team operates off of the USA swim season, which basically runs with 2 different seasons a year with a 2-week break in between each one. So we basically run for about 48 weeks a year. And our Learn to Swim, we basically run on the school district calendar, same days off, you know, things like that. And then we also run a 7 or 8 week summer program, whatever the calendar allows between the time school ends in June and when school begins in September.
I would just like,
Councilman Ingram?
I would just like to say it would be great because we have a lot of young folks and first ward who don't know how to swim, who want to learn how to swim. I would think would be a great response. That's why when Brian first was telling me about it, I'm reaching out to Pastor Mobley, Pastor Blue, and from Global to see how we can work together and get these kids so they can go to those classes. I think it's very important. We have too many young folks that don't know how to swim, and we don't know. We may have a gem among us.
And it's just another activity, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know specifically how the statistics apply to Lackawanna, but nationally speaking, you have 70% of kids that would be considered low income that have little or no swimming ability. If they come from a parent that has no swimming ability, there's only a 10% chance that the child's going to learn how to swim in that household. Those are 2 scary statistics. And then when you combine that with potential ethnic backgrounds such as African American, you know, 70% of African American kids have little or no swimming ability. So what happens to a kid that comes from a household where the parent doesn't know how to swim, they're African American and they're low income? What's the chance they get to learn how to swim? You know, it's minuscule. It's less than 0.001%. And that's the kind of barriers that we're trying to remove for kids here in the city of Buffalo. And, you know, City of Lackawanna would be our first venture outside the city with this model. The thing that I will tell you about the success of our program, there's 2 parts to it. So we're a club that's registered with USA Swimming. And nationally speaking, my program by itself has 4.5% of all the identifying registered Black swimmers with USA Swimming nationally coming out of my program in Buffalo. 4.5%. One of every 20 Black swimmers in the country swims for me. That's
remarkable.
It's great for me. It's embarrassing for USA Swimming, you know, to be honest with you. So USA Swimming looks to my program and says, how in the world are you doing that? At that same time, 2.5% of every swimmer that registers as outreach or low income comes out of my program as well, you know, across the country. So we're dealing with 2 demographics that USA Swimming has always struggled to reach. That's number 1. Number 2 is USA Swimming traditionally is about 65% female, 35% male. My program is 53% female, 47% male. So they're trying to figure out how I'm attracting all these boys as well. And then on top of that, they're Black boys. So I'm attracting the most difficult demographic that USA Swimming has to attract in our sport. And they're trying to figure out how I do it. So I'm actually a national committee member for USA Swimming for diversity, equity, and inclusion because of our model. And I'm a subject matter expert to USA Swimming Foundation because of our model. So USA Swimming National is coming to me for advice. So that's the kind of, you know, program that you're getting with us.
Well done. Congratulations. That speaks highly of your efforts.
Thank you.
I think we're all excited about that. And Director Laxo, you're looking for authorization from the council to accept this grant and to move forward with the program?
I am.
Very good. Anyone else have any questions for Brian or for Coach Mike?
I just have one. outside of the high school, are there any other pools in our city, public?
No,
Okay.
not in our city. The preliminary discussion, believe, the pool at Kaz was discussed, Coach Mike. Is that correct?
Yeah, so right now we have utilized 6 or 7 different sites within the city of Buffalo. We've got the Casanova pool. Right now that's still obviously closed because of COVID. But when that one reopens, that's typically where we run both our Learn to Swim and our competitive team. We also use the Bell Center, which is in the shadow of City Hall. We use William Emsley YMCA. We use the ECC pool downtown, the small pool underneath the balcony. We are at 2 different Buffalo Public School facilities as well. And
Have you checked out our high school facility at all?
I have not checked it out yet, but from all understanding, it's comparable to the high school pools in the city of Buffalo, 4-lane, 20-yard. So there's no problem with doing Learn to Swim there.
Yeah, great, very good. Brian, great job, Coach. Thanks for everything that you're doing for everybody, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Coach Mike, anything else in closing?
I got nothing.
Director Laxo, anything in closing?
No, just excited to start the program. When Coach Mike gave me the pitch that he just gave you guys, I was, crossing my fingers doing the application with the Wilson Foundation, and they were good enough. I'd like to thank them for their efforts. They're instrumental in bringing this opportunity to our city. So once again, the Wilson Foundation has been a friend of the people of Lackawanna, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have one other thing, and Brian doesn't even know about this yet. I learned on Friday that we were approved for a grant for our program for $100,000, $50,000 a year for 2 years, to hire a full-time, what I am probably going to call a youth development director. And that person is going to be in charge of developing some out-of-pool programming for us, including study tables and tutoring, as well as nutrition education, mentorship, and community volunteerism.
Great. Congratulations.
So that might be coming to your city as well as we develop it. Who knows? Maybe you guys will even be the first ones if we can coordinate it with the superintendent.
Excellent.
All right, well, we'll take a vote later on. I'm sure it looks favorable. Director Laxo, thank you for all your efforts again. Very well appreciated, an excellent opportunity for especially the youth of the city. And Coach Mike, welcome, and we're looking forward to working with you in the future. Very good. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to the next item is a communication from citizen Cliff Schneider regarding the offshore wind feasibility study for the Great Lakes. He sent a letter. I don't know how many of the city council members saw it, but there has been in the past much concern expressed of putting windmills out on the lake, whether they're anchored to the bottom of the lake bed or they're a floating windmill. I don't know how much control, if any, the local municipalities have in a say on this. I know it's not gone favorably for the installation of this project in the past. Whether that will be the case in the future, I don't know what the feasibility study is going to show, but I will open it up to the rest of the council as to how you want to receive or handle or direct the concern of the citizen.
Well, Judge, I do think you brought up some legitimate points, but I think you are on point when you said we're not exactly sure what exactly we can do. This has been, even before I was mayor, they were talking about windmills, they're talking about underwater current collectors that can create energy, which is not good for swimmers or boaters or fish. So I understand what his issues. I read it very thoroughly. I think he was spot on, but I also think that I'm not sure what role we have to stop anything of that magnitude.
Yeah.
You're dealing with energy, you're dealing with Congress. So, I mean, what can we do? Well, so I guess we can talk to Congressman Higgins and find out, but it's a difficult question.
Yeah, well, we'll probably have to wait till there's more, like you just indicated, Mayor, for this in the future, depending what the feasibility study shows. And at that point in time, we may, as a council, have to react as to whether we want to go on record in favor of it or opposing it.
Right.
So that's for consideration for the future. Anyone else?
Yes, can I say something, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, it's not the federal government, it's the state government. They passed legislation about a year ago, taking control away from local governments and local communities on where these windmills can be put and everything else that goes along with it. I don't know if Rich knows anything about that.
Yeah, it's an alternative license. It's an alternative licensing project created by the New York State about a year ago. I think it's Article 15. There's that with regards to that is preempting us predominantly through the seeker process. Devils are always in the details. And then secondly, that's the primary thing. You're right. They created an alternative licensing process similar to other large energy manufacturing sites. And then secondly, the windmill placement actually will likely be outside the city of Lackawanna because of where our jurisdictional limits are. We can still seek mitigation if we're adversely impacted, but that's where we might be, is my preliminary digest of it.
You know, everyone's concerned about green energy, but yet we've stripped the land areas of natural resources. So now we're going to go out into the Great Lakes, which is a bounty for sports fishing and recreation, and possibly impact them because of this energy project. And I think it's a major concern. However, if I understand correctly, there's been an interest of this by this company or one of the companies to utilize the Bethel Steel property to run their lines to the grid, to connect to the grid, that the current windmills connect on the Bethel Steel property. Is that accurate?
Well, there's a party they're waiting for an RFP to come out from NYSERDA for proposals to build it. There is an entity looking to either utilize substations or other land and resources on the Bethlehem site to build parts of it or to connect. As far as the actual connection point, I don't know that that's so well defined, but they're definitely looking at manufacturing of parts on the Bethlehem site as well, which would be a secondary. That's what I know.
Well, if they file an application and the feasibility study is positive, is it also accurate that after a year, the approval is automatic?
Yeah, it's one of these things. It's very similar to other big energy projects. I think that was the intent of the state legislation, is to have de facto approvals on certain large energy projects, and it puts a shock clock similar to cell towers on the permitting agency, which would here be, is it NYPA or NYSERDA? I don't recall. The state agency. It's a default approval, which is bizarre. It's still got to comply with NEPA, but yes, they put a shot clock in there, which would be the one you're speaking of.
Yeah.
I know the windmill energy goes to New York City. It doesn't even go to anything local. Ours comes from the coal plants up north. So,
Mr. City Clerk?
I just want to remind the council, also last year legislation came before the council and the council voted unanimously via resolution opposing the state's policy, whereas they stripped local jurisdiction of any say in renewable energy, how it was placed, where it was placed, and what it was used for. So we are on the record opposing the state policy for what it's worth. So
Right.
In this communication, this gentleman is asking us to come on board and oppose this stuff. Well, we've already passed a resolution doing just that.
Right.
so we voted to oppose it, and they still voted for it in Albany. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. City Clerk, is it possible to send a copy of that resolution to the individual who forwarded the letter?
Absolutely, I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this type of project going on in any other Great Lakes? Anywhere in United States?
I'm not aware.
I don't think of this magnitude, but I do know there are two, I believe, offshore in Cleveland. They're not, I don't think, A, they're not the distance, and B, they're not of this size. I think there's also a minimal number, I think more was a pilot project in Toronto. I'm not sure beyond that, but I have seen a couple.
I'm just curious if we were the guinea pig for this project, throughout the other Great Lakes.
I don't,
Actually, they were trying to put them on land in other areas, and this came up also. It's not just the Great Lakes one. It's the ones that they're putting, like they were talking about putting them up in Sanborn and Lewiston up that way, and along the lake, along on the land. And like Rich said, it's you can oppose it so long, and then all of a sudden it's just it's automatically approved. So.
Yeah.
That's what's bad. There's no local input anymore. So that's your state government working for you.
So, Mr. Stanton, you mentioned regarding the edge of our city. So as soon as the water hits our cliffs, that's the end. We have no more say into energy matters.
well, I think, Jeff, I think as far as permitting, actually the boundaries of Lackawanna were originally federal lands granted by letters patent to the Bethlehem Steel Corp. And then that's even how that became how that came under jurisdiction. I don't think we extend, I'm from recollection of maps I've seen over time, I don't think we extend beyond the boundaries of the slag piles. That was actually reclaimed land from the federal government.
We also encroached on the water by
Yeah.
dumping.
Oh, yeah,
our
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything west of the canal is reclaimed land from the water by letters patent granted by the federal government.
Right. Very good.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to the next item. The request from the Martinez family regarding who are the owners of Steel City Pub, requesting an extension of an outdoor seating permit. Rich, are you on this one too, Director Stanton?
I haven't, actually, I'm not sure I am. If you want to extend we did last year, you granted me some powers which extended in November to issue permits to alleviate the pain caused by the reduction in space under COVID. And a lot of municipalities did the same thing, but I guess they didn't I'm not sure they contacted me, but that's the issue on how we got there and how we were able to permit it so quickly last time. But that expired in November of last year.
Do you have a recommendation as to how to proceed with this request?
If you want to extend that, if I do it in concert with the Department of Public Works and Public Safety and Fire, we can send an internal process and just renew the old process if that's your inclination. That way we're not encroaching on sidewalks to the point where we're making it handicapped and accessible. We're not getting a fire problem. I think it worked pretty seamlessly last time.
Okay.
Have there been any issues or concerns since we passed it in June last year?
No, I mean, we had one person who was limiting handicapped access a little bit, but she complied and she moved her stuff, and I thought it went pretty smooth.
Good.
All right, then we'll move to receive and file, and when the time is appropriate, and direct it to the various department heads for further direction and possible consent. Finally, under old business, and I see our city attorney just left. There was a request and an arrangement between Our Lady of Victory and the community garden on Bethlehem Street. They had sent a proposed agreement, which was refer to the law department for an opinion. I received some communications from OLV requesting an update. I had nothing further. Part of the process involved Wade Turner and making an arrangement with him so that we would reimburse him for whatever increase he sustained in his water usage bill and any subsequent or coincidental sewer bill that would be that might be able to be tied to that water increase usage. Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Judah, Rick, I don't know if you heard that conversation.
Yes, I did.
Do you recall that agreement?
No, but I looked at it today and it did refresh my recollection a little bit. And I did speak to Mr. Turner and he's ready, willing, and able to contribute his water. He doesn't think it'll cost the city more than $30 a month. And I believe this, under the agreement, the city's gonna provide a hose. The only thing he asked for is, I guess this hose is gonna be a couple 100 feet long. So he wanted to know if we could get some type of a, you know, of a rolled, you know, I was gonna talk to Tony about it so that he could roll it up. So there's gotta be something that we can get for him on wheels or something that he could roll the hose up.
So,
But I think it's cheaper than putting a water line in, correct, Tony?
By far.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it would.
I mean, that may be
seem
the
to make
long-term
sense.
plan, but for now, for this year, I think we could try this.
Well, if you approve the agreement, then would it be up to the council to give the authorization for Mayor Iafallo to sign it?
Yes, and I also spoke to the caretaker of the property, this, what's his name, Mike? Give me what number is this?
It's under old business.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I spoke to the guy that drew up the memorandum of agreement. He's the caretaker of the property. And it's all he's asking for from the city. So I had a good conversation with him and I had a good conversation with Mr. Turner.
Very good.
I'm
All right,
recommending
then
it. I have no objection to the agreement.
Then maybe, Mr. City Clerk, we can create an agenda item for the May 3rd meeting, authorizing the entering into this agreement with OLV for the city garden on Bethlehem Street and authorizing Mayor Iafallo to execute that agreement.
All right, that's no problem. So then, Rick, Judah, you're going to do the details on that and forward it to my office so it can be placed on the agenda?
Yes, I will do a cover letter and formally put it on the agenda.
Very good.
All right. Anything else? If not, then I will formally call this city council meeting for the city of Lackawanna, Monday, April 19th, 2021 to order. Mr. City Clerk, would you take the roll?
Absolutely, Mr. Council President. Roll call, Council. Ingram.
Here.
Samansky.
Here.
Moretti.
Here.
Sirdike.
Here.
Morano.
Here.
Department heads, Law,
Here.
Development,
Here.
Public Works,
Here.
Public Safety,
Here.
Controller,
Here.
Recreation,
Here.
Public Information.
Here.
All right. Hearings from citizens, as I explained during the caucus, and we went over regarding the windmills. So I'm assuming that will be a receive and file, and as per the council president, of course, I will then get a copy of that resolution that was passed last year unanimously and forward it to the person who sent that letter, just so he knows that we have in fact raised an objection to the policy of the state of New York. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 12th, 2021.
Morano moves to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of April 12th, 2021 as written.
Ingram second.
We have a motion by Morano, second by Ingram to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of April 12th, 2021 as written. Ingram,
Yes.
Samansky,
Yes.
Moretti,
Yes.
Sirdike,
Yes.
Morano,
Yes.
carried 5-0. Departmental reports 1 through 3.
Morano moves to receive and file. Departmental reports 1 through 3 inclusive.
Moretti second.
A motion by Morano, second by Moretti to receive and file departmental reports 1 through 3 inclusive. Ingram,
yes,
Samansky,
yes,
Moretti,
Yes.
Sirdike,
yes,
Morano.
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Communications from department division heads. Number 4, Director of Recreation requests City Council approve the attached agreement between the City of Lackawanna and the Ralph Wilson Foundation. This agreement outlines a grant from the Ralph Wilson Foundation that will allow us to bring the law-established Buffalo City swim racers to the residents of the City of Lackawanna at no cost to the city. A complete copy for review is available and is on file in the city clerk's office.
Morano moves to approve request with thanks to the to Director Laxo and to Coach Switowski.
Moretti second.
So I have a motion by Morano, second by Moretti to approve the request. Ingram,
yes,
Samansky,
great job, Brian, yes,
Moretti,
Yes.
Sirdike,
yes,
Morano.
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Communications from citizens. Number 5, Cliff Schneider, New York State resident, requests the City Council review his objections to the new Great Lakes offshore wind feasibility study.
motion to receive and file,
second,
Morano
sir,
A motion by Samansky, second by Sirdike to receive and file. Ingram,
yes,
Samansky,
yes,
Moretti,
Yes.
Sirdike,
yes,
Morano.
Yes.
And also with that, I'll make part of the minutes, your request for me to forward that resolution.
Thank you.
Number 6, Mike and Cheryl Martinez, owners of Steel City Pub, submits a communication to the City Council requesting an extension or reissuance of the current permit allowing outdoor seating as per resolution number 20-12, which was passed at the regular council meeting of June 1st, 2020. I've attached a copy of that for you to review.
Morano moves to receive and file, refer to Law Department and Director of Development for direction.
Moretti second.
We have a motion by Morano, second by Moretti, receive and file, refer to the Law Department Director of Development for direction. Ingram,
yes,
Samansky,
yes,
Moretti,
Yes.
Sirdike,
yes,
Morano.
Yes.
Carried 5-0. We have no table items. Under old business, we covered the update on the Bethlehem Steel Community Garden. It's my understanding that the Law Department will refer for the next agenda a cover letter and a contract for the mayor to approve.
Thank you. I do have one other item to bring before the council. It's more of a for your information or a letter of thank you from the mayor. And I just like to share that with all of you. Didn't get here in time for the formal agenda as required, but since it's more of a public notice than anything else, I didn't think there'd be an objection. And I am quoting now, it's to the City Council. Since COVID-19 vaccine clinics became available throughout Erie County, I've been working to bring a convenient pop-up site to Lackawanna. Thanks to a partnership with Rite Aid Pharmacy and Erie County Senior Services, a 2-day vaccine clinic was held on April 7th and April 14th at the Lackawanna Senior Center. Over the 2-day clinic, 537 first doses of the Pfizer vaccine were administered, with 94% of the doses directly benefiting Lackawanna residents. The small number of remaining doses were administered to those from neighboring communities who asked for our help in getting vaccinated. There were many whose efforts were instrumental in making this clinic a success, starting with our public information officer, Chuck Clark, and my executive assistant, Gail Nicholson. Chuck represented my office and worked directly with Erie County Senior Services and Rite Aid on defining every aspect of the clinic. Chuck's significant experience with managing large public events was invaluable in successfully navigating every detail. Both Gail and Chuck worked many hours over the 2-week period, including over Easter weekend, to schedule appointments from a pool of nearly 700 requests left on an automated phone line created specifically for the clinic. Others who played important roles in the clinic's success include Tom Nicometto and Gene Oliveri from purchasing and technology for creating the automated phone line, providing necessary office and PPE supplies, and working the event. Recreational Director Brian Laxo and Senior Center maintenance employee, Chris Cutting, for ensuring a safe and efficient setup and operation of the senior center during the clinic. The team of Carolyn Nicometto, Linda Zybert, Mark Chipper Friend, Denise Fitzgibbons, Shannon Catra, Michelle Baldelli, and the senior center staff, John Iafallo, Laura Iafallo, Tammy Nicholson, Corin Linkowski, First Ward Council Member John Ingram, Third Ward Council Member Dean Moretti, and Carl Anderson, candidate for Second Ward Council seat, for handling various civic duties. And the Lackawanna Police and Fire Departments for being on site and available to assist as needed. Thank you very much, Mayor Arnett Iafallo. Unless there's anything further, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion, John Ingram.
I have a motion by Morano, second by Ingram, to adjourn the meeting. Ingram,
Yes.
Samansky,
Yes.
Moretti,
Yes.
Sirdike,
Yes.
Morano.
Yes.
Just a reminder, everybody, the governor has once again extended the open meetings law and allowing the Zoom format to continue through at least May 6th, which will cover the next council meeting to May 3rd and possibly beyond.
Very good. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Good evening.
Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.
Good night,
Good
Carolyn.
night.